right, for this last video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how you can go to the lab assignment, download it, open it on your computer, save it somewhere that makes sense, and then start working in that R Markdown file within RStudio, and then how you can knit that document and what you're expected to submit. All right, so first what you need to do is you need to go to the modules tab. So then we're going to scroll down to our week 3 module. And so we're going to go all the way to our lab 1 assignment. So we're going to click on this lab 1 data summaries. So this gives you the broad overview of what you're being asked to do, specifically what you're expected to submit, which is both the R Markdown file that you work in as well as the HTML file that we'll knit our document to. And this ensures that you don't have any errors in your R Markdown document. And if you do submit an R Markdown file that doesn't knit, I will deduct 10%. So what we want to do is we want to click on this, which will take us to this file page. So if we click on this download, then it will either download to your downloads folder, or I have selected so that it downloads to, it asks me where I want to download it. So I can say, maybe I want to go to my documents, and maybe I have in my Stat 313 folder, and I want to make a new folder, and I'm going to say this is my Lab 1 folder, and I want to save it within Lab 1, and this is fine. So I'll click on Save. It's going to download it automatically. So then I'm going to pause, and I'm going to open it up in RStudio. All right, so if we remember, I went and I saved this in my 313 folder. So I can click on Lab 1, and I can see that this is the Markdown file that I downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. If I double click, it should open up in RStudio. All right, so this is what the document should look like when you open it up on RStudio. So this is what a Markdown file looks like. As we'll notice, if we scroll through it, we see a bunch of mix between text and these gray boxes. It depends on the layout that you have for your RStudio. Mine is in black, so these gray boxes look a little bit light gray. If you're in white, then they do look a little bit of a darker gray box. But everything inside these gray boxes is what is the R code, and everything outside of them is the text. So we'll notice that there's slight formatting to the text. So what you have up here, everything between these 3 lines and these 3 lines, that's all of the preamble to your document. So the only thing that you need to change is you need to add your name here. So I can put my name as Allison. And that is the only thing that you need to change up here. So what I would encourage you is to change your name, and then we're going to click on this knit button. If you notice that there's a toggle down here between what you can choose to knit to, I want you always to knit to an HTML, which is what's the default here. So let's go ahead and just click on this knit button. So we'll notice here that this R Markdown document opens up, and it gives you all of this text that tells you that it's working through processing your Markdown file. So it's working through all the code and all of the report, and then it comes up with this new page that's going to display with you the knitted document. So this is what the HTML file looks like. So you could open it up in a browser if you wanted, because it is essentially a web page. But what I want you to do is you're going to look through this, and you're going to see that it's a document that has all of this text as well as R code and the output of the R code in it. You'll notice that this document looks slightly like what you've been working in your tutorials. It's more of a guided practice through each of these different tasks that I'm asking you to do. So what I want you to do is you're going to work through this document where you're looking at each of these different numbers and you're completing the different numbers. So here in this first number, I'm asking you to give me some information about how, what the data looks like, as well as what types of variables are in the data set. So if I close out of here and I go over here, so if I look at these questions here, so I have 1A, 1B, and 1C. So I'm asking you here, how large is the data set? When was the data collected, and what are the types of variables? Each of these questions does not require R code. And so what you can do is you can type your response here. So your response to the question goes here. And then when you knit your document, when you click on this knit button, this response is going to be highlighted here, and I'll be able to see it when I go through your document. If you scroll down, you'll notice that there are a couple of places where I ask for you to either write your own R code or to modify the R code that I've given you. So here, if we go down to question 4. Question 4, I give you a set of R code and I want you to modify the R code so that it does a specific thing. Here, I specifically want to, instead of saving this sort of what we call an intermediate data set, I want for you to delete this and I want you to instead use the piping operator to connect the filter with the ggplot. So this is where you're going to be modifying your R code. Down here in number 5, I ask you to summarize the number of flights that were headed to San Francisco in February, and you're gonna have to write all of your own R code that goes here. So this is where you're gonna have a blank R code chunk, and everything that you're gonna write for this question needs to go here. So as you go through this process, I would encourage for you to periodically click this knit button to make sure that your document is still able to knit. Once you're all the way done with the whole entire document, what you're going to end up submitting is this R Markdown file as well as the knitted HTML file back to Canvas. So make sure you submit both of them. Both of those should be in your week, in your lab assignment. So we see here, when I go to my lab 1 folder, I have both the Markdown file as well as the HTML file. So you're going to be submitting both of these files when you submit your final lab report. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them on the discussion channel or feel free to email me. All right, bye.